Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime. Hello listeners. Before we start here, let me give you a tip that's going to help make the coming holidays a little bit more merry. Nighttime is fully stocked up on shirts, hoodies, mugs, and everything else you're going to need to put a smile on the face of the Nighttime listener on your Christmas list. There's a variety of styles, colors, and designs to choose from, with more being added all the time. In fact, I just added 2 new versions of the classic I Love Chickie Macphee shirt, and any profit from these will be donated in Chickie's honor. To browse the selection of nighttime apparel, go to nighttimepodcast.com and click on the store. Now, let's get to the episode.
You are tuned to the Nighttime Podcast, focused on the fringe of Canada.
I want to start by saying that the last episode, the one covering Chickie Macphee, was easily among my most enjoyable to produce. After releasing the episode, I've been hit by tidal waves of messages from the many people who wanted to share their memories of Chickie's performances with me. Not only was it a massive pleasure to hear their stories, it was, quite honestly, a bit of a relief. See, it's not every day that a podcast chooses to cover small-town karaoke singers from the 1980s. And I'm glad to say it's possible. I guess so long as they can perform like Chickie Macphee. Perhaps it's just to please my own enjoyment of Chickie Macphee, but we aren't done just yet. I figure if you're going to cover a case, you do it right. And tonight, our dive into Chickie Macphee's story will get ever so slightly deeper. Here's what I'm thinking. In the past episode, we heard Chickie's little brother Rich talk about his memories of Chick and Chick's fame. But I wanted to give a slightly different view of Chickie. And the choice on who I needed to turn to do it was easy. Nearly everyone close to Chickie that I spoke with told me about his 2 best friends, Dorothy and Paul. Their relationship with Chickie has been described as being as close as family. In fact, even Chickie's brother Rich referred me to Dorothy and Paul. Unfortunately, like many others, Dorothy and Paul love to talk about Chickie. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So let's get to it. Tonight, in this episode of Nighttime, I'll be joined by one of Chickie's best friends, Dorothy. And our topic is Cape Breton's wild thing, Chickie Macphee.
Hello.
Hi, Dorothy. How you doing? It's Jordan.
Well, I'm just in the middle of feeding the baby. Hold on a second.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I don't mind calling you back if you're in the middle of something there.
Oh, no, my daughter took her. I was just feeding the baby. That's all right.
Oh, is this a grandchild?
Grandchild, yes.
Oh,
yes.
They keep you busy, right?
Oh, for sure, definitely. Yeah. Where are you at? In Halifax?
Yeah, I'm in Halifax. I'm from Sydney, but I've been living in Halifax for probably 10 years now.
Oh, okay. What'd you say your last name was, Jordan?
Last name's Bonaparte. So if you know my family, you'd probably know my dad. I'm going to skip ahead a few minutes into the interview. At this point, Dorothy and I engaged in every small town's most trusted form of vetting. What's your dad's name? Where did you grow up? That sort of thing. Unfortunately, Dorothy and I were able to make the necessary connections, and our talk was able to continue, knowing that we're amongst trusted Cape Bretoners. So let's get back to it.
I grew up down by Wentworth Park all my life for 21 years, and then we moved up to Kites Hill and we got married, right? But
okay, I got you.
right across the street from Chickie.
Nice.
Yeah, so my husband's from Grand Lake Road. I was like, so like I said, he went to school with Chickie since they were kids, right?
All right, well, let's get into it. So first of all, why don't you introduce yourself and just tell me kind of how you became connected with Chickie Macphee?
So I first met Chickie, like I said, when I started going with my husband. We all played ball. Chickie played ball for the old Sydney pub and District 19 and that. And that's when I got to meet Chickie and Richard and all them, and then we all hung around together, right? Chickie was like one of the type of guys that everybody looked out for him. He'd be loaded and he'd pass out, but he never had to worry because everybody made sure he got home, and everybody, you know what I mean? He was the life of the party.
Yeah, and when was it where you would have met him? Are we talking like the 70s?
83 is when I met him, yeah.
And that wouldn't have been long before the time that he became well known for being, the wild thing, Chickie Macphee. Do you remember him getting into karaoke? Like, do you know how that happened?
Yeah, down the old Sydney pub. He got up one night, he was drunk, and he started saying wild things, and then it took off from there.
And you would have been with him for some of these performances.
Oh, God, yes. We never missed Chickie when he was performing. And then when he first started, and then when he started going all over the place, no, we didn't go everywhere, but we used to go to the old Sydney pub and the Bonnie Prince to sit to watch him.
And how often was it that he was doing these performances?
Whenever they had lip sync and whenever they could find him. Yeah, but then after that, he became, when everybody got all his T-shirts, then he got right into it like he was a celebrity. He never missed it, right?
Yeah.
But, he was the icon around here.
Oh, yeah. And I remember seeing, when I was a kid, so many people, like my dad and his friends, with the I Love Chickie shirts. And I guess of course, as a kid, I didn't realize that it was this unique local phenomenon. I just assumed Chickie Macphee was a celebrity around the world for singing Wild Thing. In fact, I think I thought he probably wrote the song.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, what about, tell me.
You didn't know.
No, that's right. Well, tell me about his time as a celebrity. Like, what would his life had been like? At the height of his celebrity, let's say, so probably we're talking late 80s. Like, how did the celebrity affect Chickie, and what kind of reactions did people, give him when they saw him?
Didn't do anything different. He just was the same. He just enjoyed it when he was drinking, and he'd go out and he'd do and his partying, and he'd just do it as a regular routine thing. It never changed him one bit.
Yeah, probably got him some free drinks, I guess.
Well, free drinks and that. And Steve Batherson, what's Steve Karaoke? Wasn't it Steve's?
Yeah, Stevie's Jamboree.
Stevie's Jamboree, yes. Yeah, I used to pick him up and take him everywhere because he wouldn't have got around otherwise, right? Because unless it was locally or whatever.
Yeah, and he, as Rich explained, Chickie, he didn't have any money or a regular employment or anything. So when you say everyone looked after him, it seems like people are describing almost someone on the cusp of homelessness. Is that the way it was? Like Chickie was just
No, he was just getting by. He had a really nice home. That was his father's home that was left to him.
Yeah.
And him and Richard, but Richard lived he was Chickie always lived with his father. But he got a check, which wasn't much, but everybody looked after him. When he went out, everybody bought him liquor, and he always had his own money. But far as groceries and stuff like that, no, he always had food, and but he just had the basics. But you know what I mean? He always got by, and everybody up here, all his buddies that went hunting every year up at in Waikagama, always took him up, and he stayed up there most of the winter, and he'd be the cook, through hunting season. He did all the cooking, and they fed him and did everything for him. Same with us. We always sent him over, I don't know, extra groceries we had, or you know what I mean, deer meat, or we always looked after Chickie. Same with Christmas, always made sure he was well looked after at Christmas. I remember one Christmas Eve, my daughter had a tree in her bedroom, and I said to Chickie, you got your tree up? No, he said, I didn't put one up this year. She was only probably about 10 years old, or Jenna maybe 12, I don't know, and she unplugged her tree in the bedroom. It was all lights and everything, and her and my husband walked across the 4-lane highway. He wasn't home. They went in, plugged it, put gifts under the tree, and Chickie came home to that. We always looked after him. Yeah.
What do you think it was about Chickie that made so many people willing to, help him out the way you all have?
Because he was such a caring person. He had a heart of gold, and he'd do anything for anybody. Yeah, he'd do anything for anybody. He was just such a great person.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
And so much of the talk about Chickie's life focuses on his, his drinking, partying, and the karaoke. Other than baseball, like what kind of things was he into outside of, the wild nightlife that he had? Like how did Chickie spend his time?
Chickie was an amazing hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
He was every sport he excelled at. Every sport he was in, he excelled at. He was an amazing hockey player too, Chickie, wasn't he? When he was younger, though, he was, Paul said, and he was into ball. And what else did he? He loved playing darts, and he loved darts, bowling. He was into bowling. He was into darts. He was into anything that hunting, fishing. He loved the outdoor life. Like I said, when he was up the cabin up Waikagama, he'd be on their four-wheelers. He'd be out in the woods hiking. That's what he loved. And he always come up to our cabin, too, up in Mull River.
But it seems like ultimately, like everything he was into had a social aspect where it was him and his friends. Like he must have just been really comfortable being, with other people.
Oh, God. He was always with people. Always.
As far as the drinking in that aspect, like one thing I'm curious about is if that side of him was damaging. Like, did Chickie think he had a drinking problem to the point that like he should get help or something? Like, how bad was his drinking?
Everybody tried to. Well, I don't know if everybody really tried to help him, but it was just everybody ran him. Like his father was always a bad alcoholic. And he gave it up for years, and then Richard used to drink. Everybody used to come to some drink, so I don't know if he ever tried to get help. But he didn't drink all the time. Like, he wasn't drinking all the time, but it's just when he drank, he'd go on a bender for days. You know what I mean?
Rich had told me a bit about later in life, Chickie having, these health problems. He had hurt his head and eventually had cancer in later in life. But how did Chickie change as he aged? Like when he fell out of the public eye and was no longer known as, the Chickie Macphee, the wild thing doing karaoke, what do you remember about his later life as he aged?
Well, he didn't change much. He just did the same things, but he said when he fell out, he had more injuries than you wouldn't believe it. He was lit on fire once, as a joke. It wasn't a funny joke, and
that doesn't sound it.
No, but and then he had more broken fingers from, oh my Jesus, and he'd never go in the hospital and get them fixed or get them checked, and he had broken ribs and he'd never get them checked, and he had more broken parts on his body. His nose was broken, that was crooked. He never ever got that fixed.
Oh man.
He'd never go to the hospital. Like he was just Chickie.
Yeah.
Broke his wrist, never got that checked.
They say just riding until the wheels fell off. That's kind of what he did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Riding it until the wheels fell off. That's Chickie.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
God love him.
But he's certainly celebrated today. When I released that episode about Chickie with his brother Rich, I've heard from so many people that from across the island or people who lived in Cape Breton that have been gone for 30 years, but they remember Chickie. Like, how do you think Chickie would feel about the legacy that he left behind and people like me, interested in him and talking about him? Like, how do you think he'd react?
I think he'd be some proud. I think he'd be some proud of that.
Yeah.
Because he never thought he was nothing, and he just thought, you know what I mean? He lived from day to day just as you know what I mean? He knew he had lots of friends. I mean, geez, he had more friends than anybody, and this, I think, yes, I think it'd be some shock.
Mm-hmm.
And proud.
Yeah. So what I'd like to end with is, why don't you tell me a bit of your favorite memories of times with Chickie, or just when you think back of your good friend Chickie, what are the moments in life that you recall?
Well, you know what? We were just talking about this. Well, Richard was up not that long ago, and it's funny because we always talk about the stories about Chickie. He's asking me the most memorable times with Chickie. And this, you had to know Chickie. Chickie was one that, like I said, a real gentleman when it came to women, right?
Uh-huh.
And he always called me pretty lady, and always, anyhow, basically, he was at our house all the time. So this night, I was known for dressing really good, okay? Not, you know what I mean? Because I'm a fashion person, whatever. Love my clothes and everything. So every Christmas Eve, like I said, we'd be gone with family and whatever. When we come home, Chickie would always arrive at our house Christmas Eve. So this night I was at church, and I come home, and I had my earrings on, and I had my makeup on, my hair was all done and everything, and I was dressed, right? So when I come home, I slipped in my nightdress because it was around probably 11 o'clock at night or closer, whatever. So I went and put this flannel nightdress on. I still remember it. It was all quilted, and it had like red bows, but it was like a quilted nightdress. And I had my earrings left on, and I still had my makeup, and I still was all dressed only for my big nightdress. Anyways, we were in the bar downstairs. We had a bar. So me and my husband were sitting on the bar. So here comes Chickie down the stairs. So anyways, Chickie comes in. We're sitting there. My husband was up to the bathroom. So me and Chickie were sitting there having a drink. And he says, Dorothy, he said, I honestly got to tell you, he said, that is the most ugliest dress I've ever seen on you. Well, I was in convulsion. I couldn't stop laughing. And for Chickie, because he never says nothing bad like that, right? Never says anything bad. So I said, oh, my God, Chickie, it's not a dress. I said, it's my night dress. He said, thanks. He said, thanks. He was language. Yeah. He said, I thought that was your night dress.
At least he was honest.
Yeah, no. But, oh, my God, we laugh over that. We laugh over that. And I think for him to come out and say that, because he usually would never say that, but he knows I wouldn't be dressed like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you another one. Now, this was hilarious. This is the sober chick, okay?
Good. Yeah.
I was in the house this day, and anyways, it was not late, around 8 o'clock at night. It was dark. So anyways, I go outside to let my dog out. I had this dog. It was a yappy dog, right? So anyhow, I went out, and I went to Chickie was out catching nightcrawlers getting nightcrawlers on our lawn, and he had the flashlight going around the lawn with the nightcrawlers. I hollered out the window for my dog, Nipper, get in here. Chickie booted across the street, and anyways, I didn't know, like, you know what I mean? I didn't know that. So it was the next time Chickie come over. Chickie said, Jesus, he said, I was over getting night crawlers, and he said, I took off across the street, told Paul, Dorothy, come out screaming at me to get off the lawn. I said, Chickie, oh my God, when would I ever do that? I said, I was hollering at Nipper. Oh, Jesus, he said, thank God. He said, I thought you were mad at me. I said, yeah, I'm going to be mad at you now for getting night crawlers now, Chick. Anyways, but like, it's just like, you know, he was just, he was just the life of the party. He was funny. Everything that he did, all the boys picked on him, and they'd pick him up and carry him, or they'd, you know what I mean? They always picked on him. Then, like I said, the boys looked after him. He was well respected, even though, you know what I mean? Yeah,
it seems like he was just an amazing guy who loved life, and I think his karaoke and that side of his infamy or fame or whatever you want to call it, it was just like the karaoke was a way for everybody outside of his inner circle to kind of get a taste of Chickie. And I think that's why people loved him so much. Like folks like my dad and stuff, they didn't know Chickie personally, but they got to see him on stage having an amazing time, and that was a little infectious, because it's like one thing going into this, one thing I wanted to understand is like when you think of Chickie's story, he became so famous for like getting drunk and singing Wild Thing that it was broadcast.
Oh, I know.
Like it was broadcast on TV, and that's pretty unique.
I know. And like I said, the sober Chickie would never do that. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's two totally different people.
Yeah. Why? Like, as far as the drinking, do you know, like, I wonder why that was so. Why he was so into that? Was it, you said his parents drank a lot, like he was maybe just raised amongst that, or was he maybe so shy?
Yeah, he was raised. I think he was raised amongst that, and I think too, like all his buddies, the hockey buddies, and the game, the baseball, like everybody from Grand Lake, they all drank. But Chickie was a bachelor all his life, so. I think that was, he had girlfriends and everything when he was younger, but then liquor took over, and I think that was an escape for him when he went out to let loose. Yeah, I think that's what it was more than anything.
You say he was so, like everybody has really said he's really shy and quiet if he's not drinking.
Yeah.
So maybe the alcohol, like I'm sure a lot of people use it as like a social crutch or whatever. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, and then it got to the point that once he started, like he'd go for days because he didn't have money, didn't have liquor, but then the minute he'd have money, he would would drink till he had no money left. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, but he'd walk the streets. He'd leave Grand Lake Road, and you don't know where you'd see him when he's sober. He'd walk from here down to Timbuktu, like he was always walking.
Yeah, Walking Walter is what Rich told me.
Walking Walter, exactly.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I've in all this, I've learned quite a bit about him over the last few days. So. I want to thank you for sticking with me during this 2-part exploration of one of my childhood heroes. Chickie Macphee is truly a legend. And with that, I'll end this episode of Nighttime. But before we part, I'm going to give thanks. First of all, a massive thank you goes out to our guest Dorothy. Dorothy, I can't thank you enough for telling me about your wild friend Chickie. And then, of course, a huge thank you goes out to everyone listening. Without your interest and your support, Nighttime simply wouldn't be possible. But let me also say that the battle to keep Nighttime on the karaoke stage is an uphill one, and I hope you're out there in the bar cheering me on. If you want to keep this show singing, please subscribe to the premium feed. Not only does it make the show possible, it'll give you more of each topic than you're going to find here on the free feed. You can subscribe to the premium feed at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And since I brought up the premium feed, let me thank the newest subscribers. Samantha, Dave, and Danielle, I thank you for your generous support. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show but can't help financially, you can keep Canada weird by simply sharing the episodes across social media. And if anyone out there has any story ideas or wants to give feedback on the show, you can find me at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. I'm also on social media. I use Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Use the handle @nighttimepod. Now, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and check out the Chickie Macphee performances I added to my YouTube channel. The links are in the episode description.
The Nighttime Podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Jordan Bonaparte. Copyright Jordan Bonaparte.
Well, he used to be at parties and he'd sit down and he'd sing, "Oh, Walt McPhee, oh, Walt McPhee ain't what he used to be, ain't what he used to be." But he'd sing it in that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, ain't what he used to be. And he'd go on like that and everybody would crack up, right?
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, no, it's just...
He's a legend. There's no other way to say it, I guess.
No, he's, God love him, yes, we miss him so much.